How you rate yourself as an infographer?
How do I rate?
Yeah.
In terms of whether I'm as a quality,
Yes.
quality, I give myself, in terms of journalism, in the whole package, journalism, what I can do in design, graphics, and illustration, I rate myself a 10. And I don't mean to be, I don't say that arrogantly, but there are so many areas I'm so strong in. But there are infographic artists that I admire their work in their execution of illustration that I'm not as good as. And I think of guys like Fernando Baptista, who is with National Geographic. I think of Joseph, who is a great illustrator, incredible illustrator, he's got good concepts. I strive to be like these guys. I mean, in that area, I admire their work so much. They're just up there at the top. And but as far as that's areas where I can still improve more. But I feel overall for what I do, I'm very happy with what I've achieved and the quality of work I turn out. But there's still areas I can improve on. Yes.
Can you tell me about the birth of a infographics?
The what?
A birth of a infographics.
The birth?
Yeah.
What about, well,
How it starts?
well, it's hard. It's evolved.
Yeah.
I showed some images. We've seen graphics have been around for a couple hundred years. We've seen graphics in books, a lot of encyclopedias, a lot of literature still has infographics in them. They have been around a long time, and I don't know when the birth started. If you wanted to go to the ancient writings on the wall, the hieroglyphics, those are a form of visual communication, and yes, you can classify those as informational graphics in a sense. But I think the term infographics is something that we have created to describe a way of communicating with visual imagery, and it's been around for a long time. So when is it created? I don't know, but we have in modern day evolved it into what it is.
What's the role of USA Today in these infographics?
What is
Role
what?
of USA Today.
USA Today, again, they took an approach of using these informational graphics, using information and visual explanation to apply into their newspapers in a way that we hadn't seen, and they packaged it in a way that we had not seen infographics being packaged, and they elevated it to a different level.
Is that a trend in infographics?
Yeah, well, the trend is, yes. Ever since we saw USA Today do what they did with informational graphics, I think we have stuck with it, and we have taken it much further. In fact, you're looking at, I think we've taken it beyond what USA Today started. I look at the quality of illustration of infographics today as at a level I've never seen before. 3D software has come out and allowed artists to create graphic imagery that they didn't have the capabilities of doing with paintbrushes and airbrushes. There are a lot of, I think our technology and our software have brought the quality of infographics as far as the rendering and the artistic side of it to a level that I haven't seen. And I know some people that can't even draw, don't even know how to paint, but you put them in a 3D program, they do some phenomenal work. And they're not illustrators, but they are illustrators in a different sense because they use the tool of technology to elevate their creativity and what they see inside their mind that they couldn't illustrate before, but now they've got a tool that allows them to illustrate that way.
Did you see the Gulf dailies? They are devoting a lot of space for the infographics. For example, Gulf News.
The Gulf News?
Did you notice it?
Yes, I do, and I know the artists that work there, Luis Chumpintas started working at the Gulf News, and Luis Chumpitaz is now left and I believe working with Dubai Media Incorporated.
Yeah.
Luis Chumpitaz in that region helped elevate the quality of informational graphics, and Luis is an incredible infographic artist. His graphic skills as far as a reporter and an artist and designer, he's excellent in all three, and he's a very good. He's one of the guys I admire. I admire his work very much.
I think you have noticed the Indian newspapers these days, and we have little pages, 24 to 40, only 40 pages.
Yes.
And we can devote 1 page or 2 page for infographics.
Yes.
What's the advice for the Indian news designers?
Well, you don't. What you're telling me is, you have 40 pages and only 1/40th of that
Yeah.
you have available for informational graphics.
Yeah.
That means you have to really make your work count. Okay, you don't have much space in your newspaper, and what stories and opportunities you have to illustrate with an informational graphic, the demand and the pressure is on you to do very good work with the limited amount of space you have in your newspaper, and you better make every graphic count. It needs to be your best graphic. With that kind of a space, you don't have much space, you better make your graphics the best.
Tell me about some basics of infographics.
The basics, well, what do you mean basics?
Which one must not forget?
Huh?
At least one must not forget.
Oh, an artist must not forget. First of all, you're a journalist. Okay, the fundamentals of informational graphics is journalism, pure and simple. It is the information you illustrate has to be accurate, informative, and useful for the reader, and it has to be done very well, and it has to be concise and clear, easy to understand.
Which newspaper you rate first in case of infographics?
I don't have any particular newspaper that I think rates top. I mean, USA Today uses a lot of informational graphics effectively. Wall Street Journal uses their graphics for their readers effectively for business. We at the Denvor Post, we use the graphics, I think, very effectively. I don't know that I have any particular newspaper that I think I prefer over all of the others, but I do have artists that I prefer, and I do like these artists, and I know where they're working. But I would say it that way. But just because you're a great informational graphic artist and you do maybe 5 great informational graphics a week, doesn't necessarily mean that newspaper that guy is working for is using graphics the best way they can.
What's
Okay.
the role of color in the infographics?
What's
the role of color?
All of the color?
Yeah,
The use of it, or
use of it.
the importance of color?
Importance.
Yeah, the importance of color depends on the topic, okay? The subject. If you're talking about nature and science graphics, I think color is an essential tool for those particular graphics. It's part of the information because you need to see color to see life. And you can convey that information, but it doesn't have the life that it needs to have if you don't have color. Okay, locator maps in charts, simple charts and graphs in our daily newspapers. Color is good as an eye attractor, but it doesn't make it, to me, the graphic any more informative because you're just dealing with statistics. And statistics, in my opinion, don't deserve or really need color all the time. It's just a design element. But when you're talking about science graphics, nature, and if you're illustrating water, undersea life, that sort of thing, color is critical to help convey the information and bring emotion into the graphic.
These days, the New York Times is using software to develop the infographics.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
The New York Times has done some very, very good work. Okay, they're not. As I would say, you don't have to be an illustrator or a good illustrator or a good artist to do their graphics. A lot of their statistical graphics, that takes a different type of knowledge, and they do have a